Hey everybody, welcome to Landscape Rescue. Today we are at Menards and we're going to do a little plant shopping video. It's just kind of a lot of the same things that we've been seeing, but some of you like me just walking around randomly talking about stuff, so that's what we're gonna do. But I am seeing some pretty decent specimens that I'm not gonna say are a spectacular deal, pretty good for the price. Right now I know Menards, like this for instance, look, we'll just look here. Some people have been asking me why don't I go to Menards, so I said I'm gonna go this weekend. We were just in the comments talking about it and I said I'm gonna go tomorrow. That was yesterday, so here we are today, Monday. I'm at Menards. There's a dappled willow, which is a nice sized dappled willow for 25 bucks. It's a pretty good deal, and all the dappled willows in this group seem to be doing really well, but we have been getting a lot of rain. So here, the clearance rack isn't as robust. I'm talking about in the Springfield metro area, which is where I'm at currently, at a Menards in Springfield. Whew. Man, I remember we'd get whiskey barrels. Basically, they'd pay you to take whiskey barrels. Now they're $170. I'm also had some comments about why do I walk past this plant? Why do I walk past that plant? A lot of the times I can't efficiently talk about things because I don't use them very often, right? So I know that's an annual. I don't have a whole lot of experience with annuals. Laura from Garden Answers has a lot of experience. She's got a lot of experience with annuals. That might be your go-to for annuals. Might not be me. I'm a hard knocks landscaper. I'm big into perennials and shrubs and trees. That's kind of my thing. Those are the things that I spend the most time planting and problem solving and getting dialed in. Unfortunately for a lot of you, I have pretty strong opinions about things too. But this is about y'all's journey, not mine, right? I am merely a liaison of landscaping. That's all I am, just a liaison. Here to just kind of guide you through the paths. And if you want to go on a little trip off the beaten path, you want to go over there, I'm cool with that. Just link up with us at some point so you don't starve to death in the wilderness. There's lots of beautiful hydrangeas over here. Twist and Shout. Is it Easy Pop Star? It's endless, more endless summer series things. Let's see, Pop Star. Very pretty. No complaints on how they look. They're in a 2-gallon and they're $30. With all the rain we've having, with all the rain that we have been having, as in every day, if not every other day, we almost have a full day of rain. Like it sprinkled a little bit this morning, right as I was leaving, getting in the car to come over here, it was raining. It is what it is, but hopefully we won't get any more while I'm filming. I actually had to film a video, the last video I released was in the rain, because when else am I gonna film? So, what do we got here? A summer crush, we're familiar with those. And I'm not gonna put slides up for the stuff that we've already talked about. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Stuart Moore. I've been doing this a long time, and I try to mix in a little bit of my personality instead of being a robot walking you through the garden center. I just try to kind of let it be a little bit entertaining, but I usually put up some slides. I've been trying to do that. Increase the value of my content. It does take a little bit longer to edit, maybe an extra hour to do all that stuff, but I think it helps. So if these slides are too fast, feel free to press pause and read the description, because I try to move and pop. I value your time. And the last thing I want you to do is watching a video that is boring the snot out of you for 25 minutes. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to get great value for 25 minutes. So a lot of this is crammed in and is just pop-a-lockin', which is my favorite dance, by the way. Pink Dynamo. Pink Dynamo. That's a pretty one. We're just talking about hydrangeas. We talked a lot about hydrangeas last episode, but those were panicle hydrangeas. These are the European hydrangeas. Serrata. Hydrangea serrata. Here's another one. Fuchsia Glow. Fuchsia Glow. Look at that guy. And you know what? Let's put up slides. Let's just put up slides for all this stuff. We'll just see how it goes, because this fuchsia glow is pretty. I like that vibrant red color. Yeah, 2 to 4 feet tall, 2 to 4 feet wide. Not anything crazy, not anything out of the ordinary. I'm trying to get, so this pink dynamo has kind of purple foliage. Now those weren't available when I was out on the cruise landscaping and helping out with design. I do like that. Or they weren't readily available with our supplier. We weren't getting a crack at some of that stuff. You know what? I do like the Lime Delight Arborvitae. I do like them. It's a little bit of a time investment because I never see them any real bigger than this. I don't see big ones. I see like 2.5 footers, 2 footers, 2.5 footers. But they only get about 6 feet tall, so it's a good evergreen anchor to bring that chartreuse color evergreen into the mix. I do like the versatility that offers, because last video, and I might not have emphasized this well enough or articulated it well enough, which is not my strong suit. My strong suit is perverted analogies, but I can't really do that all the time. I'd wear you guys out. The evergreen backdrop is valuable. I know I joke and tease about evergreens, but they do have their place because it's a path of least resistance for me. I get a backdrop of green, and my perennials, I don't have to worry about what season they're going to bloom because I know they're always going to have a backdrop, right? I don't have to worry about coinciding that color. So the versatility aspect comes when you get that chartreuse green color on an evergreen. It kind of gives me other options. I'm not worrying about, or I don't got to worry about a dark green, right? Because now I'm coming closer to the color wheel to yellow, right? That brighter green brings me closer to yellow on the color wheel. So now it's a lot easier to throw in a purple fountain grass, right? Because when this purple fountain grass really starts to take off, it's going to bounce really well off of that chartreuse green. And we could say the same thing. I mean, obviously these hydrangeas are going to want a different environment than the Arborvitae is going to want full sun, where these aren't going to want to be in the sun past 12, at least in my zone 6 garden. It's another thing I got to worry about. Telling people what zone I'm in. I apologize. I'm not very good about that. Some bush honeysuckle here. We're not going to talk about that. I'm still confused why people plant that, but it is what it is. The same thing can almost be said about the Fire Chief Arborvitae, right? That color. I think this is a Fire Chief. Yep. You do a Fire Chief, get a texture contrast. You also get a color contrast. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. So I'm just looking around Menards. I don't really spend any time here. This is kind of on the other side of town. I have to pass like 2 Lowe's to get here. So I normally am kind of a lazy bum, and I just go right to the Lowe's. So kind of is what it is. We talk about butterfly bush till we're blue in the face. Itea, we've talked about Itea, azaleas. It's now here we could talk about some kind of just different things. This Nandina, heavenly bamboo, this would be the variety that people would consider invasive because it does have flowers and berries. This is just standard Nandina domestica, which I don't mind. I have to admit, I spend a lot of time fishing and things like that. And if I'm going to see an invasive species, I'm usually going to see it while I'm walking the bank fishing, you know. And I don't see Nandina in our forests choking out the local wildlife. It's not something that I have observed. I'm sure it's different other parts of the country, but then you have ones like the Gulf Stream, which is a sterile variety, and they don't get as big. They're not as much of a pain in the rear. Let's get out of here for a second. Let those folks talk. There's some panicles over there. We did an entire episode, for all intents and purposes, an entire episode on panicles. So we don't need to do that anymore. And a lot of this is my fault. Coming so late. You know what? Let's go over to the trees. There's nobody at the trees. Okay, here's something cool. And I was going to talk about this earlier, and I got distracted by the dappled willows over there, which seemed like a pretty good deal. Nice and tall. Thing about dappled willows, just trim the snot out of them. But I thought this was really pretty, just the structure alone. How do we get you out of here? I'm going to pull this out. Oh, kind of dry. But I wanted you to take a look at the structure of this. I like how this is structured. This is a very pretty, this is green machine. This is a green machine. The tag wasn't very informative, so we'll rely on slides. Green machine, Cercis canadensis, or as the English say, Cercius canadensis. But you can see that structure is gorgeous. That is a pretty looking redbud. So as far as habit goes, let's see if the pot has anything to say about it. Full weeper, lavender colored flowers. That's it, 8 feet tall, 3 to 5 feet wide. So kind of like a Ruby Falls without the purple leaves. If I had to pin it to anything, I'd say that. But very pretty. Whoever grew this did a really good job, because this is a very well pruned redbud. All right, we'll put that back in there. Now, if you're picking up something by the trunk and it's a little dry so it keeps falling out of the pocket, you can just rock it forward, stick your foot underneath of it, and lift your foot and the plant at the same time. Little pro tip for you. And just be a good customer and put the plants back when you're done. Because nothing bothers us employees worse than spending time putting plants back where they belong. So this one, I didn't see a price on it, but I wasn't looking. $130 for that specimen weeping redbud. If I can give you any advice with weeping redbuds, a lot of times they end up just looking like Cousin It, where they're just all the structure. But if you look at how beautiful some of these bends are and structures, I would prune it to where it's a little bit more on the open side. And one of the best ways to do that is, see these side branches here are going to get really long, and when they start blocking the trunk, it's very easy to just go in with your pruners and just pop that off. I'm not going to do it because I don't think it's the right time to do that. It's not interfering with anything. That way it kind of opens up this trunk a little bit, right? You can also direct the main leader how you want to direct it, right? So if you want something cool, like, see, we have this, well, that might not be the perfect example, but I don't really like the fact that this branch is wanting to cross the rest of the tree. That's something redbuds like to do. They like to have that cross branch that just shoots right across. I always trim those out. But if I wanted to just create some kind of cool dynamics to this, I might trim right here to have this become the new main leader. and then have a really cool, 10 years from now, have a really cool bend to the tree itself. So I think that would be neat, personally. What other red buds do we have in here? Rise and Shine redbud. And I would say those are probably in a 10 gallon pot. Now here's something that's really cool. And I've sold these before, and I thought they were really neat. This is a slender silhouette sweet gum. Slender silhouette sweet gum. I like sweet gum for their fall color, and I like how fast they grow. Unfortunately, the slender silhouette still drops gumballs, and that's what keeps a lot of people from allowing you to put this in their yard. Now, if it's used in kind of the sense that it's a specimen, what are we doing down here? Okay, if we're using it as a specimen, here's the thing, I'm trying to talk good about it, but I don't want you to buy one without me giving you all the disclaimers. If you're using a slender silhouette as a specimen, these gumballs are going to drop into the bed. They take a long time to rot down. I don't think it's worth it, personally. I would much rather have a seedless variety that was a columnar. There you go. I said it. That slender silhouette enables me to plant it in more places. It's more versatile that way. Columnar trees, like a columnar oak, columnar maple, you can put a lot more of something in to create mass. And so I think that's a good thing. I did see some deutzia over here when we were talking about the hydrangeas, and somebody had mentioned, no, I didn't want to sound like a crazy person walking up behind you just talking to my imaginary friends here. This is Nico slender deutzia, and I like it. I think it blooms very well, and then I trim it, and I kind of try to keep it a little bit more stately, which might not be the plant for that because they are a little kooky. I think they had specifically mentioned that. It was like 6 paragraphs long, how I need to broaden my horizons a little bit when it comes to plants, because everybody has the stuff that I'm talking about. But here's the beauty of it. The things I want to talk about are really for you guys to be able to feel successful. And especially if you're new to landscaping and you're looking for input and you're looking for ways to improve your individual pursuit, then I want to talk to you about stuff that is going to succeed and ways to make that happen. Like, I could talk about Itea till I'm blue in the face. Let's see. Oh, Merlot. So this one just gets a little bit more purple fall color. It's a very pretty, like, don't get me wrong, it's a very pretty Itea. I like that. But it's like, we're going to talk about one Itea. I'm going to tell you how I like to use them. Mostly those weird shade beds that are maybe too shady for yarrow and daylilies, but too sunny for hostas and European hydrangeas. You plant an Itea. Just like deutzia, I think, is best planted in mass, kind of by itself, with maybe a central focal point somewhere in the center of the berm. They look real pretty on golf courses and things like that. The main issue I have with them is, yes, they're tough, but they don't bloom. They don't bloom how I want them to bloom. I want a longer bloom season out of deutzia. The foliage doesn't look really that great. I don't know. We could go a whole thing on like golf course landscaping. I think it's really just pretty. It's prettiest planted in mass, where each hole could have kind of a different color palette to it. Or you could just order 6,000 panicle hydrangeas and 6,000 hardy hibiscus and 6,000 irises and have a really good time. Like, you could just have a really good time. People would love your golf course. But really what I found around here is nobody cares about the landscaping. They care about the greens. They like having big trees around, you know, to take a break behind. But we can talk about some barberry. I know a lot of you guys don't like barberry because of the thorns. This is a barberry that I would stay away from. This is called Rosy Glow. I am not a fan of Rosy Glow. I'm a fan of how Rosy Glow looks, but I don't feel like it's worth the pain and suffering that comes along with having a Rosy Glow. They get big. They are not a little barberry. Where if I was going to plant something for what I feel like the benefits of barberry are, right? That cool fall color, that cool seasonal color. This is an admiration barberry. That would be the way I would go. 1 to 2 feet tall and wide is what this admiration barberry is going to do. And it's a very pretty barberry. I can touch this barberry, right? I can touch it. It's not a whole lot of fun, but I'm not looking for a tactile experience, because trust me, you'll get one with this barberry. I'm going to plant it someplace where I'm going to see it. I'm not going to be planting this barberry somewhere where I need to go very often, right? So I'm not going to be a moron like some of these builders of these new houses. They plant barberry like right by the spigot, or, you know, for their hose, and people just hate them. It's like the end user, nobody's thinking of the end user. And I think that's where Rosy Glow barberry, because they have those little pink splotches on the leaf. They're pretty, but this says 3 to 5 feet tall, 3 to 5 feet wide. Go ahead and just assume that it's going to be 5 feet tall, and then think to yourself, how big is 5 feet? If you think about it, 5 feet tall, on me, that's right to my chin. Little lower, but right to my chin, and 2.5 feet in each direction. That's insane. That's an insanely large. Where in the world would you put that in the modern landscape? I mean, I have a problem. Like, I think of 5 by 5. I have an unusually large flower bed in my front yard, and I'm not going to plant something that big. It just doesn't do enough. Will I put a little lime and a pufferfish in the front yard? Absolutely. They get about that big, right? But it's going to bloom for 4 months. Why would I not? Right? Now, it's not going to have as pretty fall color. That is a thing. Barberry are very good at that. But I'm not going to plant a Rosy Glow. I don't even know if that one is sterile or not. Hey, Google, is the Rosy Glow barberry a sterile variety?
Here's what I found on the web.
Now, you didn't find nothing on the web, Google. You just found pictures. Here we go.
According to Missouri Botanical Garden, this species is considered to be somewhat invasive in some areas.
Yeah. So, it's not sterile. It is considered invasive in some areas. Again, we could go down that whole rabbit hole where I complain about government and blah, 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 and ticks. Oh, that's right, I touched a barberry. I'm probably going to get ticks now. What the heck? All right. So that's the thing. I'm not, I don't know. I just don't mess with the Rosy Glow. I would probably do the Admiration. That's a sterile variety. But I'm not going to mess with the Rosy Glow. I'm probably not going to mess with the Crimson Queen. I just think there's prettier ones out there. This is a pretty one, but I think I'm more of a Concord barberry fan. Admiration I really like. Those things. The 18 inchers, the ones that don't get very big. Hollywood junipers over here. That's a big boy. That's a 30-footer. Got to be ready to rock and roll with that guy. And this is just a regular green giant. But price-wise, $72.99. Not a great deal. It is what it is. Thought there was some Leyland cypress over here. I was gonna fight them. I went over to the clearance section. Wasn't a whole lot of stuff that I'm gonna pay $10 for. Let's just put it like that. let's just say, probably not gonna do that. It's a Hollywood juniper, a little pokey, so I'm gonna pick it up by the pot. Hollywood juniper right here. Big guy, 30 feet, $42.99 for that guy, and it's probably about 3 feet tall. And then the green giant arborvitae here. But I'll go show you. I'll show you the clearance section. We got to figure this out, because I guarantee you guys getting bored with these nursery walks. Yeah, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna leave here. We're gonna shoot over to Walmart. But yeah, this is the clearance rack. When I'm using the word rack loosely. Right here. There might be, to tell you the truth, most of it is dead. I actually went and trimmed on some of these fruit trees over here, and they're not doing good at all. I did hear some rumors. And here's the thing about annuals. I don't talk about annuals a whole lot because you're really not going to screw anything up by planting some annuals. Because guess what? They're annuals. So they're not going to be around next year, and you can try something new. Just feed them. Feed them. Make sure, you know, keep them on a steady regimen of food. And they usually all do really well. I, however, am lazy. So I do a slow release fertilizer, and they don't usually do as well. But if you could say to yourself, hey, every Friday I'm going to go out when I get home from work, every Friday, because you usually get off work at the same time, right? So every Friday I'm going to go out and I'm going to spray a foliar feed on, and maybe I'm going to do it at half rate until I can see I'm going to see the response that I'm getting, and then I might bump it up to 3/4 rate, and then full rate later on. Just kind of depends. Stay on top of the water, stay on top of the food. I mean, that's the rub with annuals. So if I'm not going and showing annuals, it's just because they're kind of fire and forget, guys. It's not fire and forget, but they're kind of easy to experiment with and easy to play around with. Usually, can I say this and not sound like a jerk? It doesn't seem like it takes a lot of my mental real estate to figure annuals out. Does that make sense? I don't have to work that hard. What a minute, soil one tester. I just bought some litmus strips. I am gonna get some of this garden tie. What is it called? One Wrap. This is the one that has Velcro on it. I really like these. So I am going to grab some of these, and I'm also going to grab some zinnia seeds. I keep on telling Titus we're going to plant these zinnia seeds that I bought, and these little tiny cute little, like, I don't know. I know the age range of my of my audience, but maybe there's somebody, and who knows. There's these little plastic shot glasses. They're like these little tiny, they're a little thicker than shot glasses, but like you put Jello shots in them. Well, I found some at the dollar store, and I just bought them. They're for like like shots, basically, plastic shot glasses. So I bought a bunch of those, and we're gonna plant some zinnias in them, so that way we can keep the birds away from them long enough to go pop them outside. So that's a thing that we're gonna do. I need to go buy some more zinnia seeds just for fun, because you know me, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna way overdo it. It's in every aspect of my life, by the way. So I think that's it. I'm going to shoot over to Walmart, and I'm gonna see if there's anything for us to talk about. Hey guys, so there wasn't a whole lot of stuff to film here. And literally this Walmart is right across the street from Menards. So when I'm planning my little trips, that's what I'm doing. I'm basically just hitting things that are real close to one another. So I just shot across the street and took a look, and I was like, well, there's nothing, you know, there's some patio peaches for 30 bucks. There's nothing really, you know, marked down. I went inside. The lady that's doing all the marking down, I just struck up a conversation with her, and there wasn't really anything that I thought looked good, but or looked like I wanted, you know, to plant. She said, well, if you see anything, we're marking down everything. Everything is getting marked down. And I thought to myself, ask about those Sunfinity sunflowers. So she marked them down to $5 for me, and I got 5 of them. So I got 5 of these 2-gallon Sunfinities. I think they're originally, so I got like 11 bucks off. I think they're like $16. So I got some of those. Now, keep an eye out for some of the climbing roses. Because climbing roses still look okay, and they're getting ready to mark everything down at this particular Walmart. In my area, June is the time, but we've had so much rain, they've prolonged that a little while. Stuff is still looking really good. Like if you look at all these tropical hibiscus over here, there's nothing wrong with them. They're still looking really good. So anyway, it's been kind of a good year for landscaping and plants that are in the ground. Hasn't been that great of a spring for clearance. So my name is Stuart Moore. This is Landscape Rescue, and thank you very much for letting me into your home to talk about plants.